Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the third presentation of our Cubit webinar series. My name is Michael Kerwin. Now, today's presentation, we're going to look at our new 3D windows and doors tool, and also look at the new ShapeSheet and the features that can bring to you, because that's coming from a lot of requests we've had from our users, such as yourself. So firstly, what I'm going to talk about is the new 3D windows and doors tool. I'll just go into our software here. Okay, so you'll notice on your ribbon now on the opening section, you have the original windows openings and doors opening options. Okay, that's as they were in the previous PT2. But what we've now got as well is we have a windows and doors tool. Okay, so the first thing I'll do is I'll insert a plan here just so I have something to work from. So say I take our auditorium there. And I'll just import that as normal. Okay, so like I showed you on the first presentation, we have our new scaling options here. So I'll just pick off any dimension line here to scale from. Okay, hit scale there. And then that scales that drawing in our plan as normal. Okay, so on the new windows and doors, so what we have is, so you'll notice here you've got your drop down and there's a windows and doors too. So a couple of features that you've got is if I go into my openings library now, okay, you'll notice that you have the original door open and window open tool. That's as you had them previously. But you'll notice that if you go to door or window, we now have additional information to the right-hand side there. So what we're able to do is we can create our openings as normal, but what we're also able to do is, say I select one of them, I'm also able to now build up a compass array item. So built into the new windows and doors tool is a new auto count feature, where the software will allow you auto count the numbers of doors or windows that you're using. Okay, and what you're able to do then is when you're doing the count, you can automatically, as you insert a door opening into the particular job, you can also automatically transfer the compass array build up to the rate cell and into the rate sheet. What you can also do for the door type is if you click on the little image symbol, you're able to now choose an image that matches the opening type for yourself. Okay, so, and this is particularly good for the 3D view, where they actually sit in rather than just a gap in the wall like it did previously. We'll now have a door sit you in there for yourself. Okay, so you can pick any type of door image you wish, and you can use it for yourself. Okay, so I'll just close that first. So the first thing I'll do is I'll actually draw a bit of a wall on the software, in there, so I have something. So say I take my brickwork item here, I come along, I'll leave the default 2.7 meter high, etc. And I'll just do the back wall here for ourselves. Okay, and I'll come along, and again, I'll just right click here, and then I'll right mouse click now just to end that. And as you can see there, that does my takeoff, and I've got 121 square meters for the brickwork item there. Now, before I drop on any windows and doors there, a particular feature that a lot of people have been asked for is, as of the default height being 2.7 meters, if I select the wall in our cal sheet there, we get our details as normal over on the right. Now, one of the features a lot of users have asked for is, that wall has 3 segments to it. So one of the features people have been is how to amend the height of that wall in one go. So rather than having to edit every different segment for yourself, if you wish to change the height now, we've inserted a general property option here with the overall height, you know, so if it's a standard height across, it'll be in there for you. So you can now amend the height of a wall. And if I hit return, you'll notice that these all update, including my quantity will change. So you can now update all heights on all segments of a wall, on all the individual lines now in one go. So that's just a new feature being added to the detail section for when you do it. Okay, so when we come around to then inserting windows and doors for ourselves, okay, so as I say, now there's a couple of things you can do is within the software, you know, if I just expand that up there, actually I have one already set up. What you'll notice here is we now have a door section, okay, and there's a new result type being added to your results section, okay, called window counts and door counts. And what that allows you to do is you can create a heading for yourself. So if you're going to use the auto count function within the software, what it allows you to do is you can actually nominate where you'd like the openings inserted to when you use it. So say I choose that as a door count one, and I'll choose that as my window count option. Okay, so I have a handful of there from my template job. Okay, so coming back then, how you do your insert. So now what I'll do is I'll go up and I'll insert a door. So I'll choose insert door from my section, and it comes down and I can pick off whichever opening I wish. So I select my opening as normal and I hit insert. Now as before, you'll notice here that you've got the little purple line there just denoting where the opening is so you can place it. But across on the right there, you'll notice on the new task now, you actually have properties. One of them being auto counts, okay, and you'll notice that it's ticked. So you can actually change the image before you insert it. You can insert certain details or change them as you go. So, but what I'll do is I'll just insert a door here. Okay, and I'll just, you know, I'll zoom up there a bit. I'll just insert a handful of them there for myself. Okay, so there's a couple of openings going in on the wall there. Now a couple of things have happened. Because I have my auto count heading tool selected, you'll notice under my door count item there, okay, it's now inserted that door for me. It's automatically counted it up for each one that I've put in, but also it's transferred my compass array directly from my library in to give me a price per door as I go along. Okay, and the same then goes for the windows. So if I go to, say, insert a window, and I come along, and I'll just pick off that window right there. I don't have any particular openings on it, or any rate build up on it. Okay, so you'll notice again, down the bottom there, we've got the 4 coming in as our cost, and I can bang in, you know, any rate there for myself. Now, how the auto counts tool is working. So if you don't want it auto counting like that, if you want, you can unselect auto count at any stage, either before you start doing this or after you do it. You can unselect it, okay, and you're able to, when you do a click then, without, with auto count unselected, what you'll notice is the window count now is remained at 4, okay? But what is also happening like it did previously, if I was to select my wall item like I had before, you'll notice down here that the deductions are carrying forward as normal. So there's my 4 doors as I had inserted them. But if I have a look at the window items, you'll notice that I actually have 5. So even with the auto count item unselected, your deduction tool will carry forward as normal, okay? but when you're doing the auto counts, it doesn't do it for you. Okay, so you can have the auto count on or off, so it really depends on the type of work. That would be very handy for lots of residential builders and stuff like that. So they're building their estimate as they're going. It may not, you may only want it if you're doing, say, a bill of quantities, whether it be an ARM or SMM or NRM. You may only want it to do deduction, so you can actually unselect the openings option, the auto count option at any stage. So, it's up to yourself how you use it. Now, one of the also benefits of the Windows and Doors tool is if we were to switch it and start looking at this in 3D. So if I come up to my View tab and I choose my 3D view option, when I switch that to 3D, and if I just zoom up there, okay, we'll just spin it around there for itself. You'll notice now that rather than just a hole in the wall, we can actually see the openings in situ for yourself. And at any stage, if you wish, you can select an opening on the ribbon, and there's all the properties for itself. So you can actually change what the image might look like if you wish, and any of the details. So if the window needs to be wider, you can adjust that, or even if you wanted to adjust the offset from the top of the wall, you can actually adjust that for yourself, and you'll notice that the image changes automatically for yourself. So you can amend any of the properties for any time you wish. Okay, so as you can see, the openings option was always there, but if you want, you can actually have the auto count happening, and also down within the library, you can actually build up composite rates for yourself to be able to transfer through. And switch that back to 2D. Okay, so that's really it for the Windows and Doors tool. The next one I want to do is I want to actually have a look at the new ShapeSheet tool. Actually, just before I go into that, what I should have said is if you don't create a Windows and Door count, and you do want to do it when you insert your opening, it will actually prompt you to create a heading for yourself as well. So if you forget to select the result type, don't worry, the software will actually create a heading for yourself. This option is just so you can actually preset where you want the openings to go. Okay, so the new ShapeSheet then. What that gives you the ability is, you'll notice now when on your ribbon on the task pane to the right, you've got your shapes list. Okay, this is a new window pane that you've got over here on the right hand side. If it's not visible on the View tab, you can now turn it on for yourself if you wish. Okay, and what the Shapes tool does for you is, a lot of the times what users have asked us is, every time you create something in your viewport like a takeoff, you're actually creating a shape. The shape sheet just gives us access to those shapes to be able to reuse them. Okay, it's very similar to the global sheet. So anyone familiar with our global or offsider system may be familiar with our global sheet tool. So it acts very similar to that. Okay, so you'll notice that on each plan that you do, so if you have multiple plans loaded, they'll be there, and if you expand your plan down, it gives you a breakdown of all the items you've taken off. So you can see here I've got shape 1, that's just because that's what I named my wall, and if I expand that down, I'm able to see what the actual wall area that I've done is, and if I click on it, I can see all the properties there for each one. So similar to what I showed you earlier on, I can amend the height of each individual wall or the wall by selecting the shape on our shape list, and that will actually update the estimate item for myself as well. You'll notice that I also, when I select the shape, it automatically highlights it in the viewport for me. Okay, so how can we reuse the shape sheet and how is it beneficial to you? Well, the first thing it's handy for is if you've done similar to what I've done and you actually had to, maybe you forgot to name the shape and when you're looking at your calc sheet item, it's wrong. So the first thing you can do is you can actually change each individual shape. So let's say I just call that back wall, whatever I did. Okay, so we can amend the shape name over here, and I hit return. Okay, so that updates the shape name, but it also updates the name in the calc sheet for me automatically as well. Okay, second thing you're able to do is obviously you're able to reuse it. So say if I come across here and I have, let's say I have a skirting item there, and I wanted to copy that shape to the skirting. So I could do as before where I select, I can highlight it in here and drag it across, but you can actually also drag it from here too. So you can actually drag it across and that will drop on that item in there. Now what you'll notice that when you do it is it drops on the new item. So underneath the main name, which I didn't change, you've got your shape 1, which is now the linear. And again, if you want to do, that can be actually a different name. So that could be like skirting to, top, say back. Whatever I want to call it. So I can call them any name I want. So you'll notice that when you drag the shape, either from the viewport or from the shape list, it uses the default sections here, such as the name and any of these properties. Okay? Now that can become very handy because a lot of times an example might be, let's say if I was to come along and under here, if I was just to say insert a new item there, let's say I come along and I wanted to know what the formwork was to the edges. Okay, obviously I could get the lineal if you wish, but let's say as an example you wanted to know what the area was. Okay, so we wanted that, and let's say we knew that the trench was 400 mil deep. Okay, what I could do is that could be, rather than me actually, before what you have to do was copy the shape in and then click on the details and have to amend all the walls to the different depth. You don't have to do it now. If you select it, so say if I say shape 1, I can come down to my properties here. I can amend the default before I copy it, say it's going to be 400 mil. Okay, here we go. Now by changing the default, if I drag that shape now from there across as before, what it does is it automatically creates the shape. I get a second square meter and just say I call that former. Again, you can change the name before you copy it if you wish. So what you'll notice is not only do I now have for the same shape, I now have a wall area from my brickwork, but I also have the same vertical area wall by using it from my formwork, but I'm using a different height for each one. So the shape sheet just allows you to be able to reuse your shape, but give you more control over what you can do with it. Okay? Now another benefit is that, if you're doing from the shape sheet, what a lot of people have asked us for, let's say as an example, where have I got something there? Let's say under the toilet. Okay? What you might want to do is say you come along and, these aren't particular rooms, but I'll use them as examples. Let's say I come along and I select my toilet and say I'll cover any floor tiles there I do. Okay. What we might want to do is we might come along, let's say new task, we might say rectangle. Let's say we call this, I know it's a roof section, but I'm just using it as an example. Just say we say it's bed 1. Okay, we come along, so we have bed 1, we're doing an area, and I quickly drop it on. Okay, so I've got my wall area there. Okay, now that is automatically now dropped in to it. Okay, so you can come along, you can see bed 1, there's my area. Now, something a lot of people have asked us for is to be able to duplicate shapes in your shape sheet or on your viewport, or even be able to copy shapes from one plan to another. Okay, you can now do that using the shape sheet. What I'm able to do is I can actually copy the shape, to there. Okay, I can then, and that creates another one, and maybe I call that bed 2. Okay, then I can come along. So if you've got different sections it's all done, all you're doing, dropping it on. You know, if it's like that and you drop it on the wrong spot, just click on it, move it into position as required, and release, and that creates another option. So again, you might create that bed 3. Okay, so you're able to do that now, dropping the same shape on. So if you've done multiple takeoff at one, let's say you're doing an apartment block and you've done, you know, there's 20 different types of apartments the same. You can just do the measurement for one and then drop the shape on. And if you then want to use that shape in for your quantity, okay, you'll see that it's automatically, because that was selected, it's automatically generated then for you. But as I say, you can either drag it from there over, which you can now drag into the viewport for yourself as well. And that goes for the same if you were dragging onto a different plan. So let's say as an example, if I had another floor plan, okay, and again, I'm not going to do much on that. I might just quickly scale it. Okay, now the scale of these might be way off, but if I had like, if that was say first plan and that was say second plan, I can actually drag the shape from there to duplicate it here, and then I can drop it on, and you'll notice that that copies that shape directly to that plan. So very quickly, you're able to reuse the shapes you've done for different items for yourself. And again, you can rename that. That might be, say, first floor. So whatever you want to call it. Okay, and then you can see in your time. So you're able to reuse. So by creating the first couple, you can then go through and redo it for yourself as well. Okay, so that's just a quick look at the shape list. I'll actually open it up to any questions that you might have. On your GoToWebinar box on the thing, there's actually a little message box if you want to type any questions in there for me. Okay, so thanks for your question, Derek. Will the 3D Windows tool measure heads and reveals? Not at the moment, Derek. It is on the developers list. I don't have a time. I know it's a little bit more complicated than just grabbing the length and width on, but it is something that a lot of people have asked us for, and I know it's it's under review, if not already started to be done. So again, that'll just be if they get around, because there's a lot to develop that they want to do. So it's on the list. Any other questions, anyone? Okay, and then use the shape. Again, Derek answered your question. And then use the shape again. Will it use the default height or amended height? If it's on the shape that you've done, if I just go back in to your item, if you're copying for it, it will use the default height each time. So obviously when you've drawn the shape, if you copy the main name, it'll use the default. If you copy the actual shape, it'll use the one that was amended. So, you know, it's either or. No worries, thanks. Anyone else, any questions?